Welcome, everybody. Thanks for checking out the channel. And it's been a while since I've done any kind of Bitcoin video. So this one will be about ordinal inscriptions. This is the latest innovation having to do with Bitcoin, and it's become a bit of a craze lately. So I can't wait to get into this one. If you're new here, clicking for the first time, welcome. And just to let you know, my channel focuses on education, crypto content, covering over a dozen blockchains, interviews with developers, discussing NFTs, and even live streams from time to time. I would definitely appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe to the channel. You know the deal, helps me grow and increases engagement with my content. Now, let's talk about ordinal inscriptions or ordinals. I've been meaning to make this one for about a week. Took me some time to do the research, understand things a bit better so I could share what I know. And this video will at least help you understand the basics on ordinal inscriptions. If I am missing anything or get something wrong, feel free to comment down below. I always check my comments and reply. So I'll correct the info in my next video if I have to. And I'll also include the links for the sources that I used to do my research so then you can do some of your own from there. Here's what we'll cover in the video. First, we'll go over exactly what an ordinal inscription is. Then we'll get into how they compare to NFTs on Ethereum, why they actually trade on Ethereum, which is pretty interesting. And then some questions that I have, some possible drawbacks that do exist. We could discuss those. And then finally, at the end, get into my opinions on the innovation and where Bitcoin is going as a whole. And I'll show you an ordinal inscription that somebody made that has my face on it. Don't know why that happened, but it's interesting. If you wait till the end of the video, you can check that out. Let's first start off with what an ordinal inscription actually it is. They're being compared to NFTs, and there are some similarities because they put a unique identifier onto a single Satoshi. So first we have to understand what a Satoshi is. Well, it's the smallest denomination of a Bitcoin, right? You could see one Satoshi equals 0.00000001 Bitcoin, and you can send one Satoshi from wallet to wallet. What the Ordinal protocol actually does is allow for some data, 4 MB of data, to be sent along with this one Satoshi. Interesting, right? Bitcoin, a lot of people think of Bitcoin as money. Well, now you could send data. Really interesting. This is due to two upgrades, really. SegWit a few years back, 2017, I believe, and then Taproot. Taproot was an upgrade that was over a year ago that, the way I understand it is it just allowed for more complex transactions, some upgrades to privacy features. That's what set the stage for this data being able to be sent along with a single Satoshi. Like I said, it's the smallest denomination of a Bitcoin. There are 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. And basically, the Ordinal protocol uh, inscribes a unique identity on that single Satoshi. That's where the similarity starts with NFTs, because NFTs are unique tokens on a blockchain such as Ethereum. Now, the Satoshi gets an individual number and then some data attached to it. The data can be images, like we've seen, right? Ordinal NFTs. And that's not it. It could be video, text, music. I'm sure there will be all sorts of use cases, but now you could see one Satoshi able to carry 4 MB of data, and the information for this data is fully on chain. Um, yeah, it's a little bit similar to NFTs, and NFTs are one use case of this. Here's an NFT. Here's a mutant ape. This is on OpenSea, which is a marketplace on the Ethereum blockchain, and basically an NFT, it's a special token standard. It's ER 721, and this is the token standard for non-fungible tokens on Ethereum, allowing it to be compatible with the blockchain. If I scroll down, there you'll see some metadata that gives information about the image. When the NFT is minted, the JPEG itself is actually stored off chain, right? The metadata of the token links to this. And I find that my images, they load really slow depending on what computer I'm using. And again, this is stored some kind of cloud, IPFS. And ordinals, similar to minting an NFT, ordinals can be inscribed a couple of different ways. First way, you need a full Bitcoin node, or there are some tools that exist. I still think they still need to be built out a little bit more, but there are tools that have been rapidly developed to allow individuals to inscribe a Satoshi, make it an ordinal. I think the most interesting aspect of all of this is the fact that these Bitcoin ordinals or ordinal NFTs, whatever you want to call them, they're actually traded on Ethereum. And this is what took me so long to wrap my head around the whole process. So it makes sense, since the first use case of the inscriptions are NFTs. Ethereum has the tooling. They've got the marketplace with the liquidity. Tons of NFT traders are there. And they have pretty sweet UIs for dealing with all things NFT and trading. That I understand. But these inscriptions are on the Bitcoin network. So how can that be? Well, I did a little bit of research and I came upon something called Emblem Vaults. And these vaults are able to hold not only NFTs, but other digital assets, including the storage of private keys. So these Emblem Vaults, they hold the private keys for the Satoshi that has an inscription on it, and they can be traded like an NFT on the Ethereum blockchain. So, Ethereum marketplaces, MetaMask, all that. But you are trading the private keys to the Satoshi that has that data inscribed on it. It's really interesting. And you can eventually unlock that vault. You burn the vault. I believe that's the terminology they're using. You burn the vault that will send the or export the Satoshi to a Bitcoin wallet. I've heard of people messing this up. I would just leave it in the vault if it was me, because I would rather the tools be a little bit better before I start messing around with it as a non-dev, a non-coder. But yeah, they're being traded via this Emblem Vault, which is pretty interesting because it's allows for cross-chain DeFi without a bridge. And I'll link that down below. You might want to check it out yourself. I actually reached out to them to ask some questions, and I'd like to do more videos on Emblem Vaults because this is the first time I'm hearing of them, and I think they have a really cool use case, leveraging the liquidity of Ethereum, but also able to trade assets that exist on other chains, proof of work like Bitcoin. I do have a lot of questions. I'm not an expert on Bitcoin ordinal inscriptions by any stretch of the imagination. When I first heard this, I thought, okay, cool, you could send data. And then I thought, wait a minute, this sounds like an email network now, right? Bitcoin, a lot of people think of it as money. I do not think of it as money. You probably can use Bitcoin as money in certain situations. I think of Bitcoin as a network. And the value of that network lies mainly in its security, right? The peer-to-peer nature of it, the cross-border nature of it. And the value of that network is captured by Bitcoin, right? The token, the coin. Now I'm thinking, well, you could send data. This sounds like email, right? So can ordinals be used like email, right? Sending Satoshis could be like sending messages to people. And that inscription, right, is kind of like the body of the email, right? This is pretty useful. You could send all sorts of things, right? Medical documents. You could send diplomas. You could send resumes, things like that, that have actual use case that might benefit from being on the most secure, most open blockchain that exists. So that's my first question. My second question, now that there will be more assets traded on the Bitcoin network, is this the most secure network ever, right? Should it have all of this data being sent around? Don't know. I tend to think that this is a good thing for Bitcoin. And the fact that ordinals can be used to store information, to store data, you could almost use it as a historical account of everything happening on any given day, kind of like a newspaper, except now it's on an immutable blockchain like Bitcoin. I think this is pretty powerful, right? Uh, Next question. What other data would benefit by being inscribed on a Satoshi? Are we going to see software? Are we going to see smart contracts um, attached to Satoshis? That I don't know. Maybe we're one step closer to DeFi on the Bitcoin network, right? That was my second thought. First thought was, wow, Bitcoin is a super secure network. Now we could send data, communication, right? That's important. Now, my second thought was exactly this. Wait, are we closer to smart contracts and DeFi? Well, maybe we are. Now, there are some drawbacks. Maybe they're valid concerns, maybe they're not. This is just me spitballing here as I was deep diving ordinal inscriptions. Number one is storage. Um, Bitcoin's a fixed supply. That means the ability to store this data is going to be fixed. Is this going to be a problem? That I don't know. Number two drawback, there's a lack of tooling around this. I mentioned before, some people have messed up trying to self custody their ordinal inscription rather than leaving it in an emblem vault, and they end up losing it somehow. Ecosystem is a bit raw, but that's understandable. Number three, since you're giving a um, a unique identity to a Satoshi, those Satoshis can be tracked individually. That's what I'm thinking, right? So, kind of like an NFT where you could use an NFT to identify a wallet. Now, a specific Satoshi can be tracked to individual wallets, right? Might be easier to identify people who don't want to be identified, might be easier to connect people to multiple wallets, let's say. I don't know. But yeah, that's one drawback that I see. Um, and yeah, and then the last thing I wrote down was just identifying wallets in general. You'll be able to see Satoshis, maybe they get sent back and forth to exchanges or uh, used in protocols that might exist later on the Bitcoin network, right? Um, Wallets will be more easily identified, it looks like. All right, so there is an ordinals marketplace. It's this ordinals.market, and then there's the full link for the collection, um, Bitcoin punks. And by the way, if you want to learn more about ordinal inscriptions, this is the Twitter account you should be following. It's I Pick Bitcoin. He and I have done content together, and he's way ahead of most people on understanding this, getting the word out there. Um, Puts out a lot of tweets about Bitcoin in general, but lately it's been mostly these ordinal inscriptions. So let's go to Ordinals Market and just see what it looks like. And here we go, Bitcoin punks. And you can see the floor is one ETH. When I first started looking at this, I think the floor was like zero point 0.4 ETH. It went up to like 1.4. Now it looks like it's leveling out. But there are lots of collections. This just happens to be one that I know of because I see it on Twitter with the accounts that I follow. And yeah, I could buy this now. And look, MetaMask wallet, right? This is Ethereum. So it's a little bit strange to wrap your head around it, but you're trading Bitcoin assets on Ethereum via this Emblem Vault um, cross chain protocol. Here's ordinalswallet.com. This is one of the places where you can get a wallet that has ordinals enabled. I know that Stacks, they're working on, maybe they've already done it, but they're working on adding ordinal functionality to their Hyrule wallet. And then there's another wallet I found just called xverse.app. I'll link that, all these in the description below if you're looking to get started. Keep in mind, I have not used these wallets yet. I'm kind of watching this from the sidelines right now as I wrap my head around it. I'm not trading these things, just learning about them. So that's my disclaimer, not financial advice whatsoever. And here's another marketplace. It's called gamma.io. You connect your wallet here, and you could use a Stacks wallet or Ethereum wallet, right? They're going to ask for, you guessed it, MetaMask. Again, I think that's the coolest thing about this is you basically have interoperability between the two biggest blockchains, one proof of work, one proof of stake, and it's all made possible without a bridge. Really interesting, really interesting. Let me show you that NF that inscription that somebody somebody made, and it's a strange situation, so requires some background. So um, this is Hooligan. He's someone that trades NFTs in the Cosmos ecosystem, and now he says, "Now, Joe, stablecoin shall be a Satoshi Joe Quan forever." What he's talking about is that Do Kwon a while ago right clicked my face, or someone sent him my face. It got put on an NFT. And yeah, this is tough to see, but it's Do Kwon, the real Do Kwon, stable Kwon, my face. There's me tweeting about it. Me tweeting about it. Like, yeah, this is cool. Do Kwon has my face as his PFP. This was like 5 months ago. And he still got it. And somebody took a snapshot of this with Do Kwon's reply, inscribed it. Not a top 10,000 inscription, right? These are numbered, but a top 1 million inscription. Maybe one day that's going to be something. I don't know, but yeah, my face is two twice now. Part of a Bitcoin blockchain history. If ordinals stick around and they actually something becomes of them. So yeah, kind of interesting. Let's wrap this up. All right. So, for those of the people who watch this channel often, you'll know that I'm a teacher. I like to summarize everything, pull out the key takeaways, and overall, I am especially bullish on Bitcoin. I think all roads will lead back to Bitcoin at some point. I feel this is another step in that direction, just because I view Bitcoin as a network, not only payment token. And the emergence of ordinal inscriptions, whether you like NFTs or not, it does add utility. Throw this in with other innovations that we've seen recently. Lightning Network, right, which allows for microtransactions. I've actually sent one Satoshi without a fee through the Lightning Network. And it's just really cool when a few years ago, a Bitcoin transaction took forever and it cost like 30 bucks, 50 bucks to send a small amount. Now, with Lightning Network, maybe we could send this data, right? One Satoshi at a time with this data, like I mentioned before, some kind of messaging or information network. And we've also got smart contracts courtesy of Stacks, DeFi, Bitcoin, right? Now we have data being transacted on the blockchain along with value. Really, really bullish in my mind. Bitcoin maxis, I get that they don't like the idea of ordinals, but Bitcoin's functions have evolved over time, whether they like it or not. And this is just another iteration of the tech. And it's Bitcoin in a way is designed to evolve. So this is not going to be the last innovation that's built using Bitcoin technology or leveraging Bitcoin technology. So if you're totally against this, you don't like pictures on Bitcoin, I think your feelings are going to be hurt even more when you stick around the next couple years and people get really creative with this tech. Something else to consider, the additional data being transacted on the Bitcoin blockchain, this is going to fill up the blocks, and it will make block space on Bitcoin more of a commodity, even when the market conditions are not great. And this is how the Bitcoin, the token, can capture the value of inscriptions because it creates more competition for transactions to be included in specific blocks. If you remember, Ethereum price and gas fees, they skyrocketed during the last bull market. Part of this was because people were fighting to have their transactions included in the blocks. And if the gas fees were sky high, whether you liked it or not, this simply meant that someone out there was willing to pay 100, 200, 500, $1,000 just to have their transaction uh, put into a specific block on the Ethereum network. The Ethereum token captures that value. And um, that's what makes the network valuable, by the way. As a platform, Ethereum is valuable because people want to transact and there's competition for block space. I would like to see this happen on the Bitcoin network, even when the market conditions are not perfect, because just the fact that it's extremely secure, just the fact that it's open, it's borderless, you can move value, and now you can move data. I think this is a tremendous innovation that I think will just scratch the surface, and then maybe by the next halvening cycle, we might really see some fireworks here. And I'm not just talking about price, I'm talking about the actual use cases and the adoption of Bitcoin. So that's my video on ordinal inscriptions. Please leave comments, questions. Like I said before, I'm happy to fix any mistakes that I made or add some new info onto a subsequent video on the topic. And again, if you could like the video, share it, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. Thanks for watching.